This is the evening news for Monday, September 16, 2013. I am Leanna Bradshaw. Thanks for joining us. Making the headlines tonight. Mark Phillips sworn in as new GDF Chief of Staff. Guyana to lobby Europe for reparations for slavery. PPPC condemns assault on parliamentary clerk. And police shoot bandit during attempted robbery. Now for the news in detail. Let's begin by telling you this evening that President Donald Ramotar, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, swore in Brigadier Mark Phillips as Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force today at the office of the President. Svetlana Marshall was there and filed this report.
Bear true faith and allegiance to the people of Guyana, that I will faithfully execute the office of Chief of Staff, Guyana Defense Force, without fear or favor.
That was Brigadier Mark Phillips as he took the oath of office before Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Donald Ramotar. Phillips is the new Chief of Staff who will be heading the Guyana Defense Force when Rear Admiral Gary Best retires on September 20th this year. President Ramotar urged Phillips to sustain the growth and development of the Defense Force while emphasizing the need for its continued professionalism.
So we look forward to the GDF growing from strength to strength under your leadership to build on the foundation that has already been laid over the years, and for us to look at strengthening our cooperation and relationship.
The outgoing Chief of Staff, Rear Admiral Best, was recognized for his sterling contributions to the development of the Defense Force. Meanwhile, Phillips committed himself to the maintenance of a high level of professionalism.
The Defense Force remain in good hands. We will continue to be the stable band of our Guyanese society.
Additionally, Phillips will also assume the office of the Chairman of the Joint Services Coordination Council. Currently, he's being briefed on the recent agreement between GDF and the Surinamese National Army, which will see joint patrols on the Quarantine River to clamp down on piracy and trafficking in narcotics, guns, and ammunition. Reporting for the evening news, I am Svetlana Marshall.
Thanks, Svetlana. The People's Progressive Party Civic today strongly condemned what it called the continued assault on Clerk of the National Assembly, Sherlock Isaacs. Whitney Prasad reports.
Today's Central Executive Member of the People's Progressive Party Civic, Anil Nandlal, accused the political opposition parties of continuously harassing the Clerk of the National Assembly, Sherlock Isaacs.
The People's Progressive Party Civic, PPPC, says that the ongoing assault and attacks on the Clerk of the National Assembly are unjustified and must end, as any legislation that requires presidential assent must follow the laws and established protocols. Attorney General Anil Nandlal says there is no short method to be used to fast-track legislation, as he re-emphasized the role that must be played by the Parliament, his office, and the Chief Parliamentary Council.
That process takes some time because it's a tedious exercise. Every word in that bill has to be examined. Every comma, every full stop, every semicolon must correspond with what the clerk drafted, with what is presented, what the Chief Parliamentary Council drafted, with what is presented to him by the clerk.
Nandlal made this disclosure as he explained that the opposition parties have in the recent past turned the onslaught on the clerk. He said that the party has noted the concerns expressed by the clerk himself, who has served in the position since 2002, describing this current parliament as the worst during his tenure, following several allegations leveled against him publicly by the opposition leader David Granger.
There has been an ongoing row over the delayed assent to the 4 local government bills that were recently passed. Reporting from Parliament buildings for the evening news, I am Whitney Prasad.
Guyana has sent a high-level delegation to participate in the Regional Reparations Conference taking place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Samuel Supnandan tells us more.
Culture, Youth and Sport Minister Dr. Frank Anthony is heading a three-man delegation that is representing Guyana at the Regional Reparations Conference, which is taking place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The historic conference opened yesterday with focus on seeking compensation from Europe for native genocide and enslavement of Africans during colonization. The other members of the Guyanese delegation include Director of Culture Dr. James Rose and Executive Member of the African Cultural and Development Association Dr. Eric Phillips. Speaking with the Evening News today, Permanent Secretary within the Culture Ministry, Alfred King, explained that the team will be articulating Guyana's position on the issue and is expected to partake full in all of the activities which will aid in achieving the mandate of the conference. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Rolf Gonsalves told the start of the three-day conference that there was need to build solidarity ties with like-minded persons and groups overseas, including in Europe. He said CARICOM must strive to build support across national and ethnic lines. Gonsalves described the reparation issue as a global project of immense significance in order to make ourselves more human. The conference was made possible after Caribbean Community or CARICOM leaders at their meeting in Trinidad in July agreed to the formation of a region-wide reparations commission. Since then, the Donald Ramotar administration has intensified efforts to look at several issues related to reparations locally and regionally. For the Evening News, I'm Samuel Siknandan.
Thanks, Samuel. International award-winning teacher out of the USA, Ron Clark, today encouraged local educators to live up to their profession and seek innovative ways to make learning fun and interesting for the future generation. Addressing teachers, administrators, and students, internationally acclaimed teacher Ron Clark shared experiences and techniques that can encourage a more adaptive learning environment for students. Clark, who is also a motivational speaker, was invited by the Education Ministry as part of Education Month 2013 to deliver the feature remarks to teachers present at a Transforming Minds workshop. He admonished teachers to step out of their comfort zone to make children interested in school and learning. Clark stated that persons employed as teachers who see the profession as just a job should not be educators.
You, as an educator, you have the power to go in that classroom and to touch the future and affect the lives of your country, of everyone in this country, because of the spirit and the passion of learning you can put in the lives of these kids. You can't sit down. You can't not be in a good mood. You can't not make it an urgent thing. It's got to be something that you do with all your force. And it's got to come from what you feel in your heart. And so when you feel something, you're going to do it. And that's why I told the principal, I said, I guess I'll take your job. And she said, really, you'll take your job? I said, I guess so. And the next day, I got in the classroom. I didn't know what to do. I looked at all the students, and they were like this. Rude, there was no passion, they didn't care, and it broke my heart.
Meanwhile, Education Minister Priya Manik-Chan stressed that teachers are the backbone of the education system. As such, she reiterated her call for teachers to work diligently to work with the country's future generation. She noted that the motivational workshop is the ministry's way of giving back to teachers during Education Month. In this report, you'll hear that former Speaker of the National Assembly, Ralph Ramkaran, says that government's Amala Falls Hydropower project should have been supported at the very least. According to Ramkaran, compromises sometimes have to be made in negotiations of national interest for development to be seen. He made this comment in light of the Amala Falls Hydropower project as he articulated his support for the facility. Ramkaran said the hydroelectric power facility is necessary for the development of Guyana, given the growing demand for electricity and cost factors. As such, he said the project should have gained the support of all stakeholders, but more specifically, the parliamentary opposition, which was a prerequisite for Site Global to move forward with its construction. The former Speaker of the House believes stakeholders could have at least waited until the due diligence study by the International Development Bank was completed. He highlighted some of the most important questions raised on the project, as the cost consumers will have to pay for electricity following the facility's construction, whether or not Guyana would go into debt, and Site Global's financial commitment, among other things. He noted that answers to such questions needed to be given via the media on a daily basis, but this was not done by government. Ramkaran also pointed out that the hydropower project was overshadowed by the opposition and critics, as he declared that poor public relations was also responsible for the project's failure to achieve buy-in from the opposition in particular. An alleged bandit was this morning killed during a shootout with police at Metamirzorg West Bank Demerara, while 2 others have been arrested. Bisham Mohammed was at the scene and filed this report.
Metamirzorg West Coast Demerara descended into a war zone as police and bandits exchanged gunfire, which left 1 man dead and another on the run. 2 others have been also arrested and are in police custody assisting with investigations. The dead man has been identified as Kirk Bacchus of Paradise Village, East Coast Demerara. The police were informed that an armed robbery had been planned and decided to stake out at Castev housing scheme. At about 9:15, 2 motor vehicles bearing registration numbers HB7644 and PPP9366 drove up at a house that is under construction, and 4 men exited the vehicles. 2 of them were reportedly armed with handguns and posed as Guyana Power and Light workers. After the men recognized the police, they discharged several rounds. The bandits took off and police gave chase and intercepted them at Tarla Dam, where Bacchus was shot and killed. A 9mm pistol with 2 live rounds were recovered, and the motor vehicles were impounded at the Lenora police station.
They used the black car that they came with, and they were like screaming, look, the car is coming, look, the car is coming. And they shot 1 here, and then I run in the bridge.
At the school, which looked like a ghost town, a teacher who was still visibly shaken explained their experience.
Yeah, the teachers were busy teaching. We heard the loud gunshots. At first I thought it was a transformer blew up. The children look out, they saw it too. You see the men with the gun. We don't know who were the policemen, but we see the 3 men going. The children saw it and started to scream and cry. And so as they banged, we could see till at the end of the, we see how they run at the turn. So that's why we see them running all the time, but the noise was loud, it was close. So the children started to panic.
2 other persons gave their accounts of the incident.
About 9:30, I just finished having my tea as normal, and I hear these things going wild. So I said, who firing a fire rocket this hour of the day? Ain't knowing this bullet coming here, there, elsewhere, Castev, the seawall, at Tarla Dam. And all I see everybody running. I see people start lock up their shop, and everybody who meet here running, they stand and start trying to chain up the door, drop the thing.
There was a young man with the black pants and a vest standing aside of the school with a gun. I think he dropped the gun because the police passed with the gun, a little shotgun. Because I was standing like face the person to the bandit, face to face, and the police said stand still.
Less than a week ago, 27-year-old Zulfikar Namdar, also called Vicky, was shot at least 3 times to his stomach by 1 bandit who visited the business place under the pretext of purchasing a pack of biscuits. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Thanks, Bisham. Join us after the break for more news. Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. The University of Guyana hosted its long-awaited Guyana Prize for Literature 2012 award ceremony last evening at the Pegasus International Hotel, where the winners were finally revealed to the public. Details in this Svetlana Marshall report.
In the presence of President Donald Ramatar, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana Dr. Jacob Obadei, and General Secretary of the Ghana Prize Management Committee Al Crichton, Ruel Johnson's collected fictions copped the top spot in the Best Book of Fiction category. He was declared winner by the chairman of the jury of judges, Professor Jane Bryce, who has a rich background in African literature dating back to 1992.
The collection treats familiar themes such as racial and political tensions, relationships and displacement and the effects of immigration, with originality of expression and a consciousness of the writing process. It makes good use of interiority, point of view and linguistic register, though overall there are some lapses of judgment. The stories that stand out, like The Last Assassin, Paternity Test and April, do so all the more against weak pieces, like a transcript of an instant messaging conversation and another of one end of a phone call, or a misjudged Wilson Harris spoof. Publishable quality, in this case, recognizes the quality of the writing while emphasizing the unevenness of the pieces included.
Johnson was first declared winner in the first book of fiction category in 2002. Newcomer Cassia Alfonso brought back fond memories as she recited two of her poems from her collection Black Cake Mix.
When school closed, Christmas come. Time for play whole day. But I didn't know what else was coming. Mommy gonna tell we soon. It's either tomorrow or day after we got to drink that stinkness. Think about it make me want to throw up. Early in the morning she shake we up out her sheets. My brother always display that. Lie down straight, close your eyes. Mommy solve that quick, put one lash money backside. The dead raise up, right out of bed and start walk.
Alfonso's poetic range, which included dramatic dialogue and first-person narrative, and her careful use of words to create rhythm and flow, led her to the winning prize. She shared it with Ian MacDonald's Comfort of All Things. Mosa Mathifa Telford emerged winner over Harold Bascom in the Best Drama category. Telford's Sada tells the story of rejection, which forced a teenage girl into prostitution after feeling neglected by her mother. Finally, in the first book of fiction category, Chaitram Singh received the winning prize. His book, The Flower Convoy, reflected on political and social scenes that gripped Guyana in the 1980s. President Ramatar renewed the government's commitment to the development of literature in the country. Reporting for the Evening News, I am Svetlana Marshall.
A biker was yesterday killed after he crashed into a utility pole at the corner of James and Campbell Streets, All Boys Town, Georgetown. Bishop Mohammed has the details.
Ralph Jr. Stewart, 22, formerly of French Guyana and of Lot 21 Walker Terrace Street, Castello housing scheme, was pronounced dead on arrival at the Georgetown Public Hospital at about 9 hours 35 yesterday. The Even News understands that a young man was riding his motorcycle when he reportedly collided with the resident of Albaistung who was on his pedal cycle selling pastries. As a result of the collision, the pastry man reportedly fell to the ground while Stewart swerved and hit his head on the base of the utility pole. He reportedly died on the spot. At the house of the dead man on Sunday, his aunt, Jem Hall, told this newscast what she knew of the accident.
I just said that he's running, that he riding. I know if it's me, no, he riding and swerving. Me no really is what happened because I want to say, I know, and he will run into some posts, run and slam into some posts and lazy. But when I come and bring the message, I go down to the hospital, the buy, they tell me like he already there, you know, like he face or we there lifeless, you know. But when we go down, come to see, I know, well, it's the me really know. I know he just said, you know, yeah, he just see coming back and he left. But I hear when he thinks some butterfly and stuff fly the back, said that to be must see butterfly and see went and by.
She said that Stewart lived with her since he was a child, but he would normally visit his mom in French Guyana, his birthplace. He returned to Georgetown about 3 months ago and bought a silver CG 150 Honda motorbike. Another relative of the dead man disclosed what he saw when he arrived at the scene after receiving the unfortunate news.
I see. I went right by the car now. Like, them chasing him on, you know, just on him and ride away. Right? And he crash up and run into the post. And when them see that, them may still come, them turn through the street. I'm gone and left feet. The man trembling upon the ground, buddy. The man face smash him, but the man couldn't even move. Nobody didn't even want to come here, this man get up.
Stewart leaves to mourn his mother, who resides in French Guyana, and 4 siblings, among other relatives and friends. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Thanks, Bisham. Do remember you can read about these and other stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times newspaper, and when you're not reading or watching TVG 28, you can tune into Radio Guyana on 89.3, 5 or 7 FM. More news still ahead. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Amid reports alleging that there is a stone shortage in the country, BK International's geologist Umar Prasad said the company can increase its production overnight if the demand is created and the payment is readily made available for materials.
It is not business smart or economical or makes any sense to subject our machines and our staff to triple production to produce a stockpile here, which we cannot move and cannot sell.
That was BK International geologist Umar Prasad. Additionally, BK Quarries General Manager Dayalji Prasad said currently the company's quarries operate until midnight using a shift system. Prasad said an average of 280,000 aggregates per hour can be produced, but the company does not want to produce more unless the need arises. On Friday, Public Works Minister Robeson Ben said his ministry did a flyover of a number of quarries and stated that it is clear that most of them have only a few days' supply, including BK International. However, during a media tour on Saturday of his Tiperu quarry, BK International owner Brian Tiwari said the minister's claims about stock at his quarries are false. At the company's site, the large quantity of stone on the ground was evident in excess of 12,000 tons. At a recent press conference, the company's material supplies director revealed that the organization has limited its credit to some customers since for the past 2 years its credit line has exceeded $50 million. She said persons must take some form of payment before materials can be delivered. Blackbush polder rice farmers are lobbying for more monies to be paid to them by rice mill owners for their paddy. Currently, they are being offered between $5,100 and $5,400 for a bag of paddy by the millers in Berbice. They are concerned that these amounts may plummet as the crop proceeds, which is normally the case in Regions 5 and 6. They are asking for approximately $6,200 for a bag of paddy. Meanwhile, General Manager of the Guyana Rice Development Board, Jagnarine Singh, says the situation related to harm caused by paddy bugs to existing rice crop is under control. Singh made this disclosure while speaking at a Farmers' Field Day held at Johanna Cecilia on the Essequibo coast, where he acknowledged that despite other challenges facing farmers there, the crop yield and paddy quality have been good. He reminded farmers that officers visited various rice mills in Essequibo and were surprised with the quality of paddy harvest and the low infestation of bugs that was recorded. The Amerindian People's Association says there is a need for greater social development to take place among the country's first people. Samuel Suknandan filed this report.
Program Assistant of the Amerindian People's Association, Laura George, said while there is evidence of development, more needs to be done to improve the lives of Guyana's first people. George told his newscast that the APA is pleased with the development taking place in a few villages, especially in the area of infrastructure.
School buildings, health centers across the country, some secondary schools in sub-regions. I think those have been like some developments.
The APA official noted that the economic opportunities are limited in several Amerindian communities. She opined that the opportunities made available through government are working, but higher levels of success need to be achieved.
For example, in Waramadang, you have situations of overcrowding, because there's only one secondary school. What happens to the others who are not, who may not have the opportunity to go to other secondary schools? It's either Bartica or Georgetown, or everybody goes to Waramadang. So you have that overcrowding happening. So while our children are eager and they have the capacity and the potential to learn, you have a lot of these setbacks which we are hoping and looking forward that, it can all be met.
The Amerindian rights activist said that the APA remains open to have more dialogue with government, particularly the Amerindian Affairs Ministry, to look at how these challenges could be dealt with. The APA, which represents the rights of Amerindians across the country, has been lobbying for government to secure legislation and policy changes to protect Indigenous rights in all instances. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Samuel Suknandan.
Thanks, Samuel. Join us after the break for your evening sport news. Welcome back, and now for your sport news. In the headlines, Ford retains Ainlim 10K, IGG basketball team in training, and Mayweather wins world boxing title. Now for the news in detail. Distance king Cleveland Ford notched yet another 10-kilometer title to his name on Sunday, showcasing his supremacy in the sport. Tristan Joseph has the details.
Despite some niggling injuries over the past couple of months, Ford clocked 33 minutes and 16 seconds to win the event. Known as the Little Kenyan, Ford made his move with approximately 4 kilometers, separating himself from the pack to cross the line comfortably ahead of his closest competitor, Cleveland Thomas, who ran 33 minutes and 45 seconds. Dennis Horatio ran third in a time of 34 minutes and 5 seconds, while Winston Masinga clocked in at 34 minutes and 18 seconds for the fourth position. Nathaniel Giddens, the pace setter initially, rounded out the top 5 spots with a time of 34 minutes and 34 seconds. On the distaff side, overseas-based runner Yulene Josiah Tanner dethroned defending champion Lycon Morgan to clock 39 minutes and 21 seconds. Morgan dropped to third with a time of 40 minutes and 52 seconds, beaten by 2-time 1500-meter Carifta gold medalist Javina Straker, who recorded a time of 40 minutes and 51 seconds in a sprint to the finish. On the other hand, Clark McKenzie won the boys' junior event in 37 minutes and 14 seconds, while Andrea Foster captured the female version in 43 minutes and 59 seconds. Sprint ace Alicia Fortune ran away with the Masters edition of the event in a time of 51 minutes and 23 seconds, while Ian Archibald won the men's 44 to 55 Masters event in a time of 39 minutes and 32 seconds. The men's over 55 Masters event saw Llewellyn Gardner taking the top spot in 42 minutes and 49 seconds. After the event, the athletes received their prizes, while Chief Executive Officer of the Neil and Massey Group of Companies, Dio Passad, congratulated the athletes for their efforts.
Pound-for-pound king Floyd Mayweather stretched his unbeaten string to 45 straight fights with a 12-round majority decision over Mexican champ Saul Alvarez on Saturday. The 36-year-old, who earned the biggest purse in boxing history at $41 million, managed to win the showdown between the two undefeated fighters and wrest Alvarez's World Boxing Council and World Boxing Association super welterweight belts. Here are highlights of the fight.
And in the main event, it was a game Canelo Alvarez, who tried everything he could, but could not solve the puzzle of a 36-year-old brilliant tactician and a master in the art of boxing, Floyd Mayweather. Fighting twice in a year for the first time since 2007, he is #1 pound for pound, and he is 45-0.
And finally, in sport at this time, the Inter-Guyana Games IGG basketball team is working hard at their craft in preparation for the games that begin in October. Tristan Joseph tells us more.
Labeled a young group by the manager of the team, Chris Bowman, the players have been going through a rigorous training camp in preparation to face host Suriname next month.
For us, it's all about just we encourage the youngsters to really just do their best. And I think what we are trying to do with this new team is to give quite a few under 17 exposure. I think they're going to be competitive nevertheless, but I think it's to begin to rebuild a brand new team that could be competitive and possibly win IGG, if not this year, next year. So it's given a group of youngsters. We have quite a few on the 15 on this team, and so we'll see what happens.
With one returning member from last year's squad, Bowman explained most of the training has been a new experience for the squad.
We are rebuilding in every facet of basketball, so a lot of what we're doing, many of these players are coming to this level and they don't have any fundamental whatsoever. So we have to teach fundamental. We have to get them to play together. We have to get them to learn how to win championship. So Lugard and we have a very, very hard job. So we're always going to be competitive. As will Suriname. We just have to see how it plays out at the time of the competition.
Bowman, however, believes that while the team may be young, the group of players still has a shot of defeating the more experienced Surinamis. According to Bowman, 13 players from last year's Suriname team will be returning this year.
We're going to Suriname, so a lot will be new for these youngsters, but they are well coached. Lugard is, is being, the man for some time now, and it's just for our youngsters to really adjust. We have good talent, but it will take some time for them to really be at the level that we want them to be at.
The team is being coached by Lugard Mohan and is expected to play 2 games against their Dutch counterparts from October 17th.
Thanks, Tristan. Your bridge reports are next. Welcome back, and now for a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbor Bridge will be closed on Tuesday, September 17 at 14 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours. The Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Tuesday, September 17 at 14 hours 50 for a period of 1.5 hours. And that's our Monday, September 16, 2013 edition of the Evening News. I am Leanna Bradshaw. Thanks for joining us.